of fascism, the New World Order, will be totalitarian socialist in nature. That's exactly what Hitler's regime was, a marriage of the corporate state with the state of government and the suppression or repression of the people. So, thank you, Carlos, for your pointed questions. I hope I've answered them to your satisfaction and to the satisfaction of anybody else who may have wanted to know about that. While I'm at it, I get a lot of letters from people who want to know, Bill, what about the aliens? What are we going to do about the aliens? Well, folks, I don't know how this happens, but every time I've ever given a lecture, I've always said, hey, there's a possibility that the information that I saw when I was in naval intelligence was planted there to make me believe in aliens so that I would help spread the alien threat philosophy so that people would welcome the one world government. I've always said that. Now, in the beginning, I didn't really believe that that was true. I believed that what I'd seen in naval intelligence, the documents that said that all of this stuff is alien in origin, I believed that it was true then, as anybody would who saw top-secret documents while in the service of their country and participated in briefings of high-ranking military and government personnel about those documents. I don't think there's anybody who wouldn't have believed them. And if I hadn't set out on a search for the truth for over the last 20 years and found out what the truth really was, then I probably would still believe it. But I don't believe it now. And for those of you who never read my book, it's been out for 2 years now. Okay, my book has been out for over 2 years now, and people still haven't read the book. And people call me and say, for instance, here's one good one they're always saying, Bill, you're totally discredited. Your book is a piece of trash because in there you said that Adam Weishaupt wrote Wealth of Nations. Folks, that's not what it said. In fact, I'll quote to you right now, right out of my book. It says, Adam Weishaupt published Wealth of Nations in 1776. And that's exactly what he did. That means he put up money to have an edition of the book published. I never said that he wrote it. Adam Smith wrote Wealth of Nations. But people either see what they want to believe and not read what people really say. Some people skip through my book and just read sections that interest them, not realizing that this is a book that has to be read from cover to cover in order for you to understand what's going on, because everything in here relates to everything else. And another one is, oh, Bill, wow, you wrote all about the aliens, and I believe this and that and everything. What I wrote, folks, is what I saw in top-secret documents while I was in naval intelligence, and a lot of information that's been released through the Freedom of Information Act, and information that was dug up by other people, all of whom were given credit in these sources at the back of the chapter called The Secret Government. That's what research is. Okay? Now, if all of that is true, then this chapter, The Secret Government, folks, is probably closer to the truth about extraterrestrial visitation to the Earth than anything else that's ever been written. But if that is disinformation, if that originally has been put out, if people like me, and I'm not the only one who saw those documents, folks, Linda Moulton Howe saw them, another guy named Bill English says he saw them. Our investigation into him shows that he's a total phony in the background that he has given us, because he was not a captain in the Green Berets. In fact, he was never in the Green Berets. He was never an officer, period. He was a cook, and his secondary MOS was line stringer, communications wire stringer. And he never worked for NSA in England, and he was never married, never had a wife and children in England. We've proven all of this. We've dug it out. But the information that he says he saw was exactly the same information that I was shown. Linda Moulton Howe was shown the same top-secret documents by a counterintelligence operative of the Air Force Office of Special Investigation at the AFOSI building at Kirtland Air Force Base years ago. So someone wants us to believe in this extraterrestrial threat. Well, I caught on to this after a while. And if you'll read my book, instead of glancing through and reading what you want to read or what you think you agree with, read the whole thing whether you agree with it or not. You need to know what's in this book. At the end of chapter 12, I listed 5 possible conclusions to the information in this chapter. And number 5, I'm going to read to you verbatim right now so that you'll understand where I come from. Number 5, Quote, "There is always the possibility that I was used, that the whole alien scenario is the greatest hoax in history designed to create an alien enemy from outer space in order to expedite the formation of a one-world government. I have found evidence that this could be true. I have included that evidence in the appendix. I advise you to consider this scenario as being probable." Unquote. Now, I'll grant you extraterrestrials may be real. They may be visiting the Earth, folks, but all the evidence that I can find in my research and investigations is all of this stuff is of human origin to create an artificial alien threat from outer space, so that you will be willing to give up your rights or anything else that you have to give up in order to face that threat. Understand? I sure hope you do. It's important that you understand that. Okay, next letter. This was to WWCR. "I'm sending this letter to express my opinion that William Cooper's The Hour of the Time is one of my favorite programs on your station, and I request that you please keep it on the air. I find Bill Cooper's program to be food for thought. I sincerely hope you ignore any harsh letters from unfair critics who may be affiliated with the Stell Group. Mr. Cooper spoke of them on his November 30th program, and how one of them wrote a libelous article about The Hour of the Time in his book, Behold a Pale Horse. It's talking about my reference to Lars Hansen, who was reared in the Stell Group and wrote a lot of lies and libelous things. And we filed suit in federal district court in Atlanta, Georgia against Mr. Lars Hansen, and he disappeared, despite the fact that in his libelous writings and ramblings, he said that he was hoping that we would sue him so that he could get all of this stuff into court. Well, it turns out that we did sue him, and Mr. Hansen is now on the lam trying to duck the service of the papers of the U.S. Marshal's office. So, anyway, that's about how that is. And this writer goes on to, "I haven't ordered the book or joined Kaji yet, but I'm concerned that a mystery school is trying to hound him off the air and take cheap shots at his program. I'm sure you feel the same as I do, but I thought I ought to write and show my concern about the Stell Group and its acts of libel and attempts at censorship. Now, folks, I don't know if the Stell Group was behind what Lars Hansen did or not. I just made reference to the fact that Lars Hansen was reared in a cult, a part of the mystery school known as the Stell Group. So let's not go blaming the Stell Group if we don't have any proof that they did it. We know Lars Hansen did it. He happened to be a member of the Stell Group for a large portion of his life. The show of November 30th, it goes on to say, the show of November 30th had some flutter in the first few minutes of the program, but it was still listenable. Could you please send a QSL card? It would be very appreciated. I close a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you, Danny." And he's in Tennessee. Danny's in Tennessee. Okay, on to the next letter here, folks. Try to get through as many of these as I can. And thank you all for your help. Dear Bill.